Hello, all you freight masters out there. Um, I realize it's Sunday. I was going to wait until tomorrow to put out this video, but I just kind of felt like getting into it, right? I've got a lot going on this week, and I thought, well, circumstances being what they are, I may or may not get to this video tomorrow. So, again, that's why we're doing it today. So, um, I had read this article on Freight Waves. Um, Basically, shippers in control, how they approach a market strongly in their favor. I think that it's important for brokers and carriers alike to pay attention to things like this and to like the DAT analytics when it posts every Tuesday, right? You guys see me every once in a while. I remember to share it to the group. But all of that data that is shared with us kind of gives everybody a better understanding on, where things are, where they're going, and, what we need to do to prepare essentially. So, you know, I've been noticing a lot of this, oh, if we just turn down all these cheap rates, then everything will bounce back. Well, it doesn't work that way, unfortunately. Uh, we can't just hold our breath as brokers and carriers, and I don't know. There's a lot of other factors involved. But I'm going to play the video, right? Rather than, I had initially thought about reading this whole thing, but I figured it would probably be better for you to listen to them than listen to me. So without any further ado, we will get into it.
Shippers in control, how they approach a market strongly in their favor. Shippers are in a strong market position. At TIA, they talked about what they want from the brokers who serve them. Orlando, Florida, as a presenter at the annual meeting of the Transportation Intermediaries Association said Thursday, it's a shipper's market. Shippers sit in the driver's seat in a market with so much spare capacity that FreightWave Sonar's outbound tender reject index continues to hang around the 3% level. That makes the views of a panel of shippers particularly important for brokers and carriers that seek their business. There may not have been clearer evidence of a shift in shipper behavior discussed at the panel than that spelled out by Robert Savage, Vice President of North American Transportation and Logistics at Del Monte Fresh Produce. In the heat of the capacity crunch during 2022, Savage said Del Monte, YSE, FDP, shifted to 6-month RFPs when it went to market to secure transportation. This year, Del Monte has shifted back. We expect the rates to be lower this year, so we're really focused on putting back the 12-month RFPs, Savage said. And for a company the size of Del Monte, it's a big deal. He said it operates in 800 to 1,000 lanes, and the RFPs will cover about $130 million in freight spend. The other extreme on the panel was from J.J. Jones, the Chief Supply Chain Officer from Monin America, a manufacturer of flavor products. He said Monin had moved away from RFPs. Instead, the company has gone to a system of working closely with brokers to secure capacity, Jones said. It drew the list of the 18 brokers it is working with from prior RFP bidders, Jones said. But of those 18, 5 are handling the vast majority of the freight. So we're really building a proactive relationship instead of one that is reactive, Jones said. He said Monin will study how the non-RFP approach works before deciding whether to repeat it in 2024. The shippers are in a strong position, and they know it. There were several references to the sheer number of phone calls and emails they receive from brokers, and in some cases carriers seeking business in a soft freight market. Savage used the term bombarded, and with that position comes the ability to more aggressively seek what the shippers said they wanted, and it wasn't just low rates. Service came up repeatedly as the number one standard used to judge brokers and whether the shipper would choose to use them again. Some brokers don't try to build relationships with carriers. All they are doing is taking a load and posting it, Jones said, emphasizing the difference between service and deal chasing. He said his company produced a white paper several years ago on its shipments and that it sought a win-win/win strategy for shippers, carriers, and brokers alike. If service from the broker is inadequate and that posting is the approach, then all you're trying to do is get the lowest rate and post it high, Jones said. That is not a win-win process. There are size requirements for some shippers. For example, Savage said Del Monte will not do business with brokers that have less than $200 million in turnover. Staying away from smaller brokers, Savage said he had nothing against them, reduces the chances of getting caught in a double brokering scheme. And with larger brokers, he said, I don't have to resolve issues with claims or trouble getting paid. Not surprisingly, at a conference sponsored by the Trade Group for Brokers, the view of that industry from the shippers was strongly positive. Savage said brokers can flex and have the ability to go out and find a truck when I can't flex, and they can do things quicker. Onboarding a new carrier to fill a short-term shipping need takes longer than dealing with a broker that already is in the system, Savage said. A shipment that is diverted due to weather raises the question, if more capacity is needed, should Del Monte turn to a carrier? Savage's answer was succinct, no. We're going to really focus on the brokers because they can flex and we can really count on it, he said. Savage did say Del Monte has a staff member who responds to every approach by a broker because the company's list of approved brokers is not set in stone. A few are purged every year and new ones are brought in. Those that approach the company could make the cut to be on the list of brokers the food company uses. The discussion kept coming back to what the shippers sought from brokers, and low cost was generally third on the list after two standards that are somewhat interrelated: service and safety. Michael Lynn, the third shipper on the panel and the director of supply chain for the Musco Family Olive Oil Company, summed up the view on safety. The last thing I need is that one of our shipments taken on by a broker runs into a bus of nuns, he said. All things being equal, it comes down to what extra service am I going to get from a broker that I don't get from a carrier, Lynn said about the choice between the two ways of getting product into a truck and onto the market. That is particularly true, he said. For a spot load, when we have these one-offs, we probably take it to a broker. Savage did note one drawback to brokers, the rate of turnover, which he said is greater than what he traditionally finds among carriers. He said it is frustrating to establish a good relationship with a broker that does an unbelievable job, and then all of a sudden that person leaves. Then we have another person who doesn't know our account and the service deteriorates. The solution, he said, is cross-training so that the departure of one individual allows for a smoother transition for the customer left behind. When moderator Mike McCulloch, vice president of operations at SPI Logistics, asked panelists what they would grade their brokers on an internal scorecard, respondents didn't mention snagging the lowest rate. Lynn cited tender acceptance, on-time pickup and delivery, and the level of claims damages. Those make up the bulk of the things we cover, he said. Savage added invoicing speed. Some counterparties take months to bill Del Monte, he said, and the company can't collect from other parts of the supply chain that need that invoice from a broker or carrier to trigger their own payment. It's amazing, and I don't know about you, but we need to be paid, he said. Jones said Monin does not keep a scorecard on its brokers or carriers because we don't want to micromanage them. But he added if there were such a grading system, service failures and billing accuracy would be some of Monin's primary concerns. Del Monte Savage presented something of a mea culpa when asked what he and other panelists would do to receive a shipper of choice designation. He admitted that Del Monte facilities had not been driver-friendly in the past for driver parking or such basic services as restrooms. One capacity provider to Del Monte told Savage several years ago that while the food giant paid well, none of my drivers want to go to your port because of the threadbare facilities for drivers. That mentality has changed, he said. We treat everybody with the same respect, and I think that's critical. More articles by John Kingston. 3PL industry rattled by C.H. Robinson liability decision looks to other cases. Landstar cargo theft.
Okay. So let me know your thoughts on that. One of the things I will pick out is where they mentioned win-win-win, right? Yeah, shipments is sought a win-win-win strategy for shippers, carriers, and brokers alike. This kind of reverberates what I've been saying for a long time now, is about creating that happy marriage between all three parties involved. And it can't just be put on the shipper's shoulders. It has to come from all three parties: the shipper, the broker, and the carrier, right? So we all have to do our part. We all have to, provide our best level of service, and in turn, everything kind of runs a lot more harmonious, right? One thing I will kind of say is that I've worked with large shippers like these ones mentioned here. I've worked with small shippers. I've worked with medium-sized shippers. My biggest headaches come from large shippers, right? Now, I'm not saying all of them, but it seems like my larger shippers tend to be cheap, although a lot of them have been kind of cheap here lately. Now I've got some really great ones, right? They're still paying a decent rate. My drivers are actively running, and they're as happy as they can be in this market, right? But when I get shippers that are offering me loads that equate to like $1.39 a mile, that's their rate to me, and then I have to try to make $1 off of it and sell that load on the spot market, right? Because that's what a lot of their stuff is, because they're not issuing yearly RFPs anymore. They stopped that this year. Well, the one it did in particular, they acquired their own assets, and then they have a certain amount of freight that they just sort of throw out there. But it's dirt cheap stuff, and I haven't booked a load with them since February. I can't do it. I've got too many other shippers, too many other prospects and things involved. All of that being said, and there is a link to this article if you guys want to go back and reread it or re-listen to it. I do apologize about the video. I don't know why they do that with the automated AI voice or whatever you want to call it. But if you are a new broker, agent, if you're an owner operator that wants to get out and get your own customers, right? Odds are, or if you're a small broker, odds are you're probably not going to get in with one of these larger companies, right? They've already said they're looking at a certain revenue. Now, so all your big box, brokers, your large asset-based brokers are the ones that are more or less getting in there. But if you're, like I said, if you're brand new, you're struggling to get customers direct. Like I said, this isn't just for brokers and agents. If you're a owner operator, or maybe you've got a couple of trucks, let me know. If you're struggling, let me know. You can, if you're on Facebook, you can DM me, or there's a link down below. You can schedule a Zoom meeting with me, and we can take some time, kind of go over, what lanes you're looking at, what kind of freight you're looking to haul, all of these kinds of things, narrow it down to, and for you agents out there, I keep pounding this into the ground. It seems like it is, you've got to find a niche, right? I have so many of these phone calls, emails, messages, and things, and I go, okay, well, what's your niche? Well, I'm just kind of making a bunch of phone calls. And I think I mentioned in one of my previous videos, there was a lady that I spoke with, very nice lady, but she'd only gotten 3 days of training. They put her in front of a computer with a phone and said, go after it. And they gave her a phone call script. And I said, throw that in a circular file. She didn't have a niche, a target niche or anything like that. She was just kind of shotgun pattern it. And after just a very short conversation with her, she ended up with 7 prospects willing to do business with her that day. So again, if you're struggling, reach out to me, and we'll set aside some time that works out, and we will get you some shippers. Guys, no comments on this article. Like I said, and I'm gonna share the DAT video when it comes out Tuesday. The analytics. Again, I've got links for pretty much everything in the description down below. If you're needing any of that, if you guys are needing surety bonds or any of that kind of stuff, if you're a carrier right now watching this and you're working with brokers that don't have an accessorial agreement with, in their contract or on their rate confirmations, go to thetruckersresource.com. There's a free download on there. And you can add, it's editable, right? You can add your company name, logo, all of that fun stuff, and then what you charge for detention and layover and things like that, right? And send that to your broker or your customer and have them sign that before you sign their paperwork, right? Before you sign that rate confirmation, before you sign that setup agreement, if it's not in there already, right, that they have some sort of a detention and layover policy and what they pay for accessorials, send that to them, right? We can't just quickly, sign and go. That's why I get these phone calls going, hey, I sat at the shipper for 7 hours, Tim, and the broker's not paying me for my detention. What do I need to do? Well, I always ask, well, what does your setup paperwork say? What does your rate confirmation say? I don't know. Why don't you know? It's a contract. Why wouldn't you read that? Not every setup agreement, not every rate confirmation is the same. Right? So if you need something like that, like I said, it's a free download, thetruckersresource.com. It's on there. Go ahead and grab it if you need it. No comments from you guys on that? Shocking. But yeah, there's a lot that needs to happen with the economy and everything before we start to see rates come back up. It's not just a matter of, a cheap broker, or which, granted, there are some out there, or, well, we'll just start rejecting all these cheap rates. Well, how long can you afford to sit? Right? So, anywho, all right. Well, guys, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Like I said, I just wanted to share this out with you in case I didn't get time tomorrow. I've got a lot of RFQs and things that I'm working on. I've pretty much been working on them all weekend. I'm building new relationships for some new lanes that I have coming up with carriers and things. So I have been pretty busy, but yeah. So like I said, if you guys need help getting customers or anything like that, like I said, DM me or email me if you're on YouTube. Well, let me put up my. If you need to reach me, you can reach me at freightmasterresources@gmail.com. So, okay, guys, I'm going to wrap this up. Have a fabulous end to your Sunday and do some epic stuff this week, right? Go get some new customers. Turn it into something awesome. All right? I'm rooting for you. All right. Be kind to one another. Bye-bye now.